Hello everyone and welcome to the ASCO GI Congress 2022. I'm here with you today, Friday 21 January 2022, to discuss some important topics. We'll be having an overview of the exploratory efficacy and safety in patients with unresectable hepatocellular carcinoma HCC treated with atezolizumab beyond radiological progression until loss of clinical benefit in a global phase 3 study, explained by Han Chong-to, Singapore. A randomized controlled phase 3 trial comparing two chemotherapy regimen and chemoradiotherapy regimen as neoadjuvant treatment for locally advanced esophageal cancer by Kenka-to. And a phase 3 randomized, double-blind, placebo-controlled study of durvalumab in combination with gemcitabine plus cisplatin, GemCis, in patients with advanced biliary tract cancer, explained by Dong-Young Oh. IMbrave 150. Exploratory efficacy and safety in patients with unresectable hepatocellular carcinoma HCC treated with atezolizumab beyond radiological progression until loss of clinical benefit in a global phase 3 study by Han Chong-to, Singapore. The IMbrave 150 study has demonstrated a significantly longer survival with atezolizumab atezo with bevacizumab bev compared to sorafenib SOR in systemic treatment naive patients with unresectable HCC. This efficacy was maintained with an additional 12 months follow-up and resulted in the approval of first-line atezo with bev in more than 80 countries. The study aimed to report the efficacy and safety of atezo beyond radiological progression until loss of clinical benefit. Patients were randomized to receive atezo 1200 mg IV and bev 15 mg per kilogram IV once every 3 weeks or SOR 400 mg twice daily until unacceptable toxicity or loss of clinical benefit, while patients with progressive disease PD and clinical benefit continued study treatment. A total of 336 patients were on atezo and bev, with 236 having PD, of whom 130 continued atezo with or without bev. 60 received other treatment, and 46 received no treatment on or after the first PD. Patients who continued atezo were most likely to have Barcelona clinical liver cancer stage 3, 78%, and Child-Pugh A5, 80%, compared to patients receiving other treatments, which were mainly SOR and lenvatinib post-PD. At clinical cutoff, the median number of cycles of atezo received post-PD was 5, with 32% of patients receiving at least 10 cycles. Death occurred in 46% of patients who continued atezo compared to 54% of patients receiving atezo with bev. Grade 3 and 4 and treatment-related grade 3 and 4 adverse events occurred in 23% and 16% of patients who continued atezo. In conclusion, the standard of care for patients with unresectable HCC is atezo with bev. The IMbrave 150 showed that patients who continued to have a clinical benefit on atezo may experience a greater benefit when continuing atezo. Further analysis of the value of treatment with atezo beyond formal progression will be assessed in the IMbrave 251. a randomized controlled phase 3 trial comparing two chemotherapy regimen and chemoradiotherapy regimen as neoadjuvant treatment for locally advanced esophageal cancer, JCOG 1109, next study by Ken Cato. Esophageal cancer EC contributes to a significant number of cancer deaths, with esophageal squamous cell cancer ESCC accounting for 85% of all EC cases. A preoperative therapy followed by surgery is recommended in cases of locally advanced EC despite poor prognosis. The result of JCOG 9907 incorporated neoadjuvant chemotherapy with cisplatin plus 5-fluorouracil CF into the current standards of locally advanced EC in Japan. The JCOG 1109 next trial was a 3-arm phase 3 trial aiming to confirm the superiority of docetaxel plus CF DCF and radiotherapy with CF CFRT over CF in overall survival. Patients with ESCC of clinical stage 1B, 2, and 3 from 44 institutions were included and randomized to neoadjuvant CF, cisplatin 80 mg per square meter on day 1, plus 5 FU 800 mg per square meter on days 1 to 5, once every 3 weeks per 2 course. DCF, docetaxel 70 mg per square meter on day 1, cisplatin 70 mg per square meter on day 1, plus 5 FU 750 mg per square meter on days 1 to 5, once every 3 weeks per 3 course. Or CFRT, cisplatin 75 mg per square meter on day 1, plus 5 FU 1000 mg per square meter on days 1 to 4, once every 4 weeks per 2 course, radiation 41.4 gray per 23 FR. The primary endpoint was the overall survival, OS, and secondary endpoints included progression-free survival, PFS, percentage of R0 resection, percentage of objective response by neoadjuvant therapy, and percentage pathological complete response PCR, and safety. Of the 601 patients included, 199 received CF, 202 received DCF, and 200 received CFRT. Baseline characteristics showed that most patients were males, 88.2%, with a median age of 65 and a median follow-up time of 4.2 years. Results demonstrated an OS of 4.6 years in the CF arm and 6 years in the CFRT, while the OS in the DCF arm was not reached, NR. The 3-year OS was 62.6%, 72.1%, and 68.3% for CF, DCF, and CRRT respectively, but a significant difference was detected when comparing CF to DCF only. Additionally, the median PFS in CF, DCF, and CFRT arm were 2.7 years NR, and 5.3 years and 3-year PFS was 47.7%, 61.8%, and 58.5% respectively. The R0 resection was achieved in 84.4% of the CF group, 85.6% of the DCF group, and 87.5% of the CFRT group, and the PCR was 2.1%, 19.8%, and 38.5% respectively. Moreover, febrile neutropenia was observed in 1%, 16.3%, and 4.7% of CF, DCFM, and CFRT arms respectively, and esophagitis in 1%, 1%, and 8.9% respectively during neoadjuvant therapy. The treatment-related death occurred mostly in the DCF arm, followed by the CF and CFRT arms. In conclusion, DCF demonstrated a significant effect on OS compared with CF as neoadjuvant therapy for locally advanced ESCC and had a manageable toxicity profile. The study showed that DCF represents a new standard neoadjuvant treatment for ESCC. Phase 3 randomized, double-blind, placebo-controlled study of durvalumab in combination with gemcitabine plus cisplatin in patients with advanced biliary tract cancer, TOPAZ-1 by Do Yoon Ho. Biliary tract cancer, BTC, is a rare, heterogeneous cancer having a poor prognosis. The immunogenic features of BTC allows the possibility of anti-tumor effect and response through checkpoint inhibition. This mechanism using a single agent appears to have a clinical activity but is limited in advanced settings. A phase 2 study showed a promising anti-tumor activity when durvalumab, a PD-L1 inhibitor, is used with gemcitabine plus cisplatin, GemCis, in advanced BTC. TOPAZ-1 is the first global phase 3 double-blind study to examine first-line immunotherapy plus GemCis in advanced BTC. Patients not previously treated for unresectable locally advanced, recurrent or metastatic BTC were included in the study and randomized to receive durvalumab 1,500 mg once every 3 weeks, or placebo with GemCis, Gem 1000 mg per square meter and Cis 25 mg per square meter on days 1 and 8 once every 3 weeks for up to 8 cycles, followed by durvalumab 1500 mg once every 4 weeks, or placebo until disease progression or unacceptable toxicity. Prior to randomization, patients were stratified by disease status and primary tumor location. The primary endpoint was the overall survival, OS, and secondary endpoints included progression-free survival, PFS, objective response rate, ORR, and safety. Of the 685 patients randomized, 341 received durvalumab with GemCis and 344 received placebo with GemCis. Results showed that durvalumab with GemCis significantly improved OS compared with placebo with GemCis. Hazard ratio HR 0.8, 95% confidence interval CI 0.66 to 0.97, P equal to 0.021. Moreover, durvalumab showed a significant improvement in PFS compared with placebo, HR 0.75, 95% CI 0.64 to 0.89, P equal to 0.001. The ORR was 26.7% and 18.7% with durvalumab and placebo respectively, with a grade 3 and 4 treatment-related adverse events, TRAEs, occurring in 62.7% and 64.9% of patients receiving durvalumab or placebo respectively. The number of patients discontinuing any medication due to TRAEs was higher in the placebo arm 11.4% compared with the durvalumab arm 8.9%. In conclusion, patients with advanced BTC may benefit from durvalumab with GemCis since it has shown a significant improvement in OS and PFS compared to GemCis alone. It has also demonstrated a manageable safety profile, suggesting a new first-line standard of care regimen in advanced BTC.